I'm happy to kind of welcome everyone, and let me tell you about the infrastructure on the implementation of ESG principles in Ukraine. What is the approach of the government and the regulators on and what the business thinks about that? First of all of those working on the implementation of ESG in Ukraine today, they have a roadmap, and it contains some of the practical steps that are made by different actors and stakeholders on the field in order to implement the ESG principles. And the due diligence, indeed, is one of the key elements for the implementation of ESG in Ukraine. But all the players, all the actors and regulators, they can see their own roadmap. They understand what's happening with the implementation of the ESG. So then there is like second, the third level. I'm not going to show you too much into details, yes, but let's outline the main 6 components, and we don't see the 7th one. So first of all, the due diligence reporting, then EU taxonomy, the due diligence and the reform of public investments, the monitoring of sustainable investment and the fulfillment of sustainable development goals. This is a dynamic tool, so it can be amended. If you represent the organization that is also working on some elements of the ESG implementation, you can contact the Green Transition Office, and we'll synchronize that with other efforts that are being made by different organizations. So many organizations have already been engaged in the process. We're trying to coordinate and to perform a sort of a coordination role. But what I would like to mention is that if we could show the key stakeholder on this slide, you know, the stakeholder that is really responsible for the implementation of the ESG in Ukraine, I would have a slide with 2 words, Ukrainian business, on that, because it is on the Ukrainian business that depends on how the standards, how the regulations will be implemented in Ukraine, because we're all working to create some preconditions, the regulation, the standards, the legislation, the guidelines, the explanations, etc. So it is on the business, depends whether those principles will be implemented in live. The workload on the business is very significant, and there's the numbers that point that in Europe they have calculated what is the workload on the European business under the directive for the due diligence reporting. There's different kind of options, including under the Omnibus directive. So we have calculated what would be the workload for the business in Ukraine. So currently over 3,000 companies will be subject to that directive, and there will be like around 300 companies that will be participating in that, and we are registering all the companies from small to big that are working on this 579 program. They also fill this requirement to do something on ESG, so to be responsive to certain criteria. We have also analyzed the matter whether the Ukrainian business is ready to the implementation of the ESG. In our office, I've conducted a big social survey. We've asked over 500 managers from Ukrainian companies. You can find more detailed review on our website. But still, what I would like to mention is that there's this low understanding about the sustainable development, what it is, the sustainable development among the Ukrainian business. Still, the majority of the companies are very optimistic with the ESG implementation. They support the implementation of that principles when they hear about the meaning of that. Now, despite this optimism, only 5% of the companies are saying that they will be ready, well, in certain future, they will be ready to implement those principles and report based on these ESG principles. Surely we register all the practical obstacles for Ukrainian business in implementing those principles. The main things that we would need to operate to kind of to have some sort of data management system for the sake of reporting, and also there will be a need for the development of digital solutions, for the introduction of those tools, plus a big share of the companies saying that they don't have enough personnel that is aware of those ESG principles and how to work with that. So there is a kind of a big gap on the labor market. So we do work with all those challenges together with the partners while working on the roadmap. Now, just a few words about what to expect in this direction in the field of ESG regulations in Europe and in Ukraine. Well, and we've already mentioned the Omnibus process in Europe. Surely you've heard about this. And we've analyzed this matter in a very profound manner. And just recently we have published a report on our website. It contains all the details necessary. Kind of in general terms, in the first quarter of 2026, there will be a consolidated position and a voting in the EU on introducing changes into the EU taxonomy, CSRD, and others regulations. So that will have an impact on the legislation to be implemented in Ukraine. Which criteria shall be kind of imposed on Ukrainian businesses? In Ukraine, a lot of things are happening in terms of the introduction of the Sustainable Development Reporting. And Tatiana has mentioned that we have an interagency working group at the Ministry of Finance. They have developed a special implementation strategy plus some regulations that will be implementing this sustainable kind of development report. And they're just waiting for the final criteria to be adopted in the EU. Thank you.